now.
What?
Hello, good evening.
New. Yeah, they've been calling me for the last couple weeks about scheduling. I got to have my AFib, my heart, surgery, and it got canceled. They were supposed to be back in April, and so they keep on calling me like every week. Oh, we have an OP next week. We gonna do so many weeks, so we're calling a week at a time. I'm like, I'm not ready for this yet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they called me again today, and I got it scheduled for the 15th. So
Good.
just gonna,
Things are starting to open back up a little bit.
yeah.
Sorry about the Millers. They have invaded town hall.
Oh my God, everywhere.
That time of year.
Oh.
They said they're gonna be bad this year because we haven't had much moisture.
Yeah.
So I moved in early.
I ground everyone down to disposal I can.
Right?
We have one of those tennis rackets with the screen is electrified, so you go around and see a flag, you go, and it snaps them.
But yeah, my mom got almost
Yeah.
one of those one year. Well, we'll see if this works. This is my first dog and pony show with this, so.
You can do it, you got it.
You don't have your handy assistant David to help you?
I did a test run yesterday and one this afternoon, so we'll see.
Before the meeting, I'm gonna ask everyone to remember to not be on their phones.
Yeah. Especially since you're gonna be on camera.
Yep. Oh, how are you then?
Good.
Good.
Keeping busy. I got 3 dead trees I gotta chop down at the building I manage. Had 3 of them die last year, and then this year, they just didn't recover. I think what messed them up was that late snow we had last year. They just didn't know what to do.
Are they house trees?
No, there was those weird, they got like big leaves on them.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what they call, like big elephant ear leaves on them.
Or the catalpa trees, they have the big bean pods.
Yeah.
Yep, catalpas.
Yeah, so I gotta cut those down, and then I was there again today, and my sprinkler system isn't running right, cause it's burning up the grass.
Not good.
Yeah. Pay all this money for fertilizer and mowing and all that stuff to make it look nice, and then the sprinkler system messing up.
I know the feeling.
Driving the truck again, Larry.
Well, you're up to something.
Huh?
You're up to something,
No,
no?
I try not to. At least in public.
Hmm?
At least in public.
Ah. At least not on videotape.
Yeah, no kidding. Rah. Yeah,
Well, send me a picture of him holding a deer, little baby deer.
oh yeah, somebody turned in Bambi that found on the highway. Can't find mom, so who knows where mom's at. But yeah, cute little thing he had this morning.
Yeah, pretty small.
Oh yeah, I think newborn, just a few days
It looks
old.
like.
So they found it walking with a bunch of cattle, so that's how new it was.
Wow.
Didn't know what
I'm
was
hanging out with you guys.
looking for mom, didn't know what the heck
See what
going
mom
on.
looked like, huh? Yeah, you'll do.
Little Jeremiah.
Hello.
How are you? How are you? Doing?
Yeah?
Good.
There's some food next room if you're hungry.
No, I'm fine, I ate.
Okay.
Let's stay on a strict regimen, sorry. Low carbs.
There you go.
No carbs in potato salad, is there?
Plenty. Actually, there's lots.
Nick, how you doing?
Hello.
Hello. Let's have a bike rider.
Yeah,
Out riding bike with the kids.
boy learned to ride on Saturday, now he wants to take it out some jumps.
Oh, he's already ready, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was, I pushed him around so he can ride that Strider bike.
Yeah.
For, oh, phone, said, get on the bike, you got rid of the pedals, you don't want anything to do with it. I put the train wheels back on it, practicing for a little while with the pedals. And Saturday, well, Sunday was his birthday, so it's Friday, I want to take the pedals off. Took the pedals off, took them around the driveway twice, you know, last push, kids gone. Saturday we went down to Lincoln Park, and we went down to the skate park, and I rode back, and Sunday did the same thing for his birthday.
Yeah.
He just lost his, you know what, coming back from Lincoln, he cried the whole way.
Oh, no.
Yeah. He just wasn't getting his way.
Uh-oh. So, Tom had the street sweeper out today.
Yeah, I saw straight out of with it.
Yeah.
Since before
I wasn't sure where he was
Yeah.
going with
I
it.
figured I couldn't get too many
Yeah.
things between here and there.
Are we gonna start spraying for mosquitoes?
Yeah, I finally got bit the other day. I need to talk to David about getting that scheduled. Have a late start, but I was over talking to Brenda Brown, lives over in Goodrich Court. She's my kid's babysitter. In her backyard faces that field. I was out there assessing her fence. She needs her fence repaired. Oh my gosh, they ankle bit me to death. Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure in certain areas it's even worse than.
Yeah. She tells me, well, it's always bad here. I said, yeah, because there's water right there.
There's not much you can do about that.
No, we're surrounded by farmland. Ditches to the east, rivers to the west.
Hi, Mary. How you been?
Good.
You know, having to put a new program together this summer like you did last summer, right?
No,
Thank God.
yes. Thankfully. We still get a little hiccup every once in a while, stuff that we kinda knew but forgot.
Yeah. How are you guys?
It'd be nice to have tables with power, wouldn't it?
That'll be our next purchase. Only took me 20 years to buy these, so.
You sent me the email, so I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, when you asked if it was loaded, and it was, I thought, uh-oh, we can't get it, so I just emailed it to you because it was small enough. Double up.
Delicious, thank you.
Good read.
I already did, I'll put it in the file.
We'll pass it this
Things
way.
that way.
Oh, that way?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
What's that?
A thank you letter from the food bank.
Oh, yeah.
That's nice. Have you ever met Karen Trusty? Oh, she's a wonderful woman. Okay, we have no safety precaution from cords, so be careful.
See that? Careful,
Cross at
Greg.
your own risk.
How to get plugged in here.
Thank you. How are you, buddy?
Very good.
I'm doing okay?
Yeah.
Spencer.
How are you, dude? Well,
Mayor, when you're ready, let me know.
I am ready.
Just bored, right?
See if this works.
It'll work.
All right. I hope.
Troy, how are you?
Pretty good. Logging in here, there you are. Okay. And, check something out here. Alright, can you see the whole board?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I switched the camera, so we have this.
Anything more?
Or,
Yeah.
so there's, yeah, you won't, it's not wide enough to see everybody, but, I'm not sure, I think left is right and right is left, but.
The main focus is right there.
Right there, I'll do introductions, Alex. This is Alex Pulley, he's with FHU. And over here on the left, I believe, actually, which here? Okay,
Me?
okay.
Your left. Your left.
Alright, Nick Ralston, trustee. Spencer Bradman, trustee. Troy Blum, trustee. Mayor Sandoval.
Hello.
Larry Clark, Mayor Pro Tem. And then Jeremiah Overman, trustee. So we're getting used to the whole Zoom, Teams, Skype, you name it, so.
We are too, and Alex and I should have worn different shirts, we kinda look similar here.
Sorry about that.
Alright. Well, I kinda like the big screen, cause last time we didn't have it this way. Plus, we actually have volume on the TV, which works great. So, I'm glad everybody joined us. So, Alex, what I'm gonna do is just summarize briefly with the board, and then I'll turn it over to you if that works.
That's great.
Okay. At the last meeting, I explained to the board, I'd known FHU and some of their work for a number of years. I worked with Alex and a number of other staff members, mainly through projects with CDOT, but I know their work is pretty high quality. So I thought about contacting Alex and his team about our downtown streetscape project, explain how we did a streetscape concept plan back in 16, we did the comprehensive plan back in 17, and then this last year we completed a downtown economic development plan. So we have all these plans. But this board is ready, as I told Alex and his team, they're ready to actually see some concrete, trees, and things being done. So, in all fairness to Alex and his team, they need to get caught up on what we've done. Now I'm echoing, sorry. But, that's kind of where we're at now, is the board and the town wants to move forward with actually doing improvements downtown, but I know it's still a process, so Alex and your team, I'm gonna turn it over to you if that's okay.
Absolutely, that's great.
And the board does have your proposal, your revised proposal to review in advance, okay? All right.
Great.
Okay, all yours.
Well, thank you. I really do wanna thank everybody for inviting us here this evening. We really do appreciate it. As Troy said, I've had the pleasure of working with the town directly on projects since 2012, 2013. I just want everyone to know that Troy represents the town with the utmost professionalism and intelligence in all components. So he's been just a tremendous resource to the town. And honestly, one of the really truly enjoyed working with Troy, and so I was extremely pleased when Troy contacted us about this. And so we share the desire of Platteville to really celebrate the roots, looking at doing that and looking into the future. You know, we do see this town that has a lot of character. A lot to offer, and a lot of ways a quintessential Colorado town. And we really applaud your effort to advances like Troy was talking about with the comprehensive plan in 2017 and the earlier kind of streetscape plans in 2016. And so when we brought some folks together here today that I wanted to introduce and kind of explain their roles. I'm the principal with the firm, so that just kind of shows our commitment to the town and to the project, and I'm here to kind of ensure that everything is getting done. If you need, at least these folks have the resources they need, to help finish this and see this into fruition. And so, we have Brad Kronowski, who's the project manager. He's a landscape architect. He's been a landscape architect for many years, over 20 years, worked for multiple municipalities, most recently the city of Aurora before he came to FHU, and he has a tremendous wealth of experience in terms of taking projects and getting them done, seeing those plans and getting them on the ground and making those happen. Then we also have Daniel Morgan, who's another landscape architect and Daniel brings a real unique vision and understanding. One of the things that Daniel's characteristics that really shines, and I know you'll see this through this work, is the way he embraces the culture and the history of the town. So you'll see that shining through for sure. And then we also have Amy McFarland. And Annie has a broad background in open space planning, as well as in public and stakeholder engagement and facilitation. And Annie really brings that wealth of experience, ensuring that we're incorporating everything that is seen, things that we hear from you, from other stakeholders, and kind of finding that those solutions that really work for everybody. So I feel really proud of this team that we have, and I'm going to turn it over to Brad a little bit so he can talk through some of the overview of the various tasks and the goals and whatnot. And so, and then after that, we welcome questions at any point in time too. So feel free, Brad.
Thank you. Yeah. So one of the things we did with this revised proposal was we left some original ideas in there. We kind of put them as gray. And that is because we wanted you to understand what we had originally noticed from some of the things that we reviewed. And then hearing from Troy and David, we also understand the town's desire to move forward in some of these things. So we just wanted to kind of leave those in there as kind of a shadow so you can see that at least we understand what you all have gone through already. And what that translates into is our first task, which is more in line with the idea of getting these things advanced and in the ground. At our last meeting with Troy and David, we talked about the idea of devolving Main Street from CDOT, and also the work that we did on Highway 66. So one of the things we wanted to do was, and also the idea that there's some underground going on. So what we thought would be helpful is to get into some more specific layouts and design plans so that the town would be in a better position to underground utilities in the right location, to build curb and gutter, and to do some infrastructure that wouldn't have to be repaired or replaced when the main street is fully incorporated into the town. And so that's why our proposal kind of shifted towards more conceptual to more concrete and practical, and has more of an engineering deliverable to it. To explain a little bit more about what we mean with our terms and the deliverables on that task. We're talking about schematic design and preliminary design. It might be easier to think of the schematic design as more of like the streetscape elements, and then the preliminary design is more of the engineering piece where we're talking about how to lay out the road, how to lay out parking, and so where is the public space, where is the private space. There's always a chance that there might be some interface between the two, like maybe there's public improvements that are part of the adjacent business owners. So we really want to map those things out, and so everybody kind of understands where things are going and where the best location is for some of these streetscape elements. So that is task number one, and that's a matter of collecting information, using some of our survey information that we have already access to with our GIS data. And then starting to put, it's probably more in the engineering sense of black and white. We also have those plans that you guys have already done, the Main Street design, and some of those elements that were done, I think that was 2016. And so we have an idea for what your town collected, and so we'll start to get those things incorporated. and see how they fit into the space and, you know, provide some imagery and some diagrams to show you how that Main Street can take form. Another thing that we noticed is that, in that previous effort, the Main Street Design project, they had some gateway entrances on Marion Avenue and US 85. In our previous meeting, we thought that there might be a desire to repeat that on 66, so that what we have is kind of a corridor that invites people through the town at both ends. And then those wayfinding elements can kind of help people get into downtown and, you know, feel that they're in Platteville the whole time, and that there's a desire to stop there and park and walk around and kind of engage in some of that streetscape that we're promoting. And then task 2, the ultimate goal there is to take those concepts from task 1 and really prioritize them and phase it. Some phasing has already been done in your previous work, which is helpful. But we want to kind of take a look at those elements in the budget and see where the infrastructure is, see what's the most logical way to phase it so that we can help the town get grants and get those improvements in place. Obviously, it's going to be a phased effort, and so that's where we can engage with the board and with management and really understand what's the best way to spend your money, what's going to provide the most impact, and ultimately getting people downtown to visit and to spend some money and to really enjoy Platteville and those new improvements. So with that, I'd like to ask Andrew to show some of his streetscape work that we've done in other projects to kind of explain how we've developed some of this imagery and how we can, you know, help you guys see how these streetscape elements can kind of take form. And I think you have all this in your meeting packet as well.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, and I'll just take a minute. Do any of you all have any questions where we're at now, or focus you'd like to discuss? Or I can just keep moving along.
Nope, keep moving along. They're paying attention, not sleeping yet.
Perfect.
I've got jokes if you fall asleep, but don't worry.
No, I'll keep you busy. You do not want Alex's jokes.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So if you go to the back of your packet where you have a couple of the project examples, one of the first examples is the Ralston Road, Garrison Street to Yukon Street. And it has some of the district markers and corner treatments. And it looks like there's 2 maps there where we put a couple dots over it. So, would it be helpful for me to share my screen, or do you all have it in front of you?
You might want to help share the screen,
Yeah, let me just go ahead and do that.
just so we're all on the same page, okay?
All right. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this is an exhibit that we had put together for the town of Arvada. And what we had approached the project, and the city had already developed multiple vision documents. And so this little corridor here is about 1 mile long, and it was our task really to take it from vision to, all right, how does this start looking in reality, and how does this interact with the neighborhoods, with Town Hall, with sort of the old town Arvada. So what we did is broke it down into 3 tiers of investment. Basically, tier 1 being the highest level of investment with neighborhood monuments, seating, unique paving, and then all the way down to tier 3, which would just be kind of a minimal investment. So that's essentially what you're looking at here. This project had been broken out into 3 separate districts, focusing on a lot of the historical agriculture. Arvada used to be celery capital of the world. It also, Ralston Creek was where there was some gold mining, so we had kind of tried to pull a lot of those historic elements into the monuments and to the proposed improvements that we were talking about. So then this next phase, as we were talking about these neighborhood markers, well, what are those and what do they mean? We were really looking at how can we brand some of these intersections along the corridor. So we eventually developed these monuments that have different icons, different quotes, really kind of tying the town's history and rooting it in the physical elements of the corridor. And then as we went a little bit further, each district was then broken down into district markers to define that district as you drive along the corridor. And so, just to inform you all, this was mostly a corridor for vehicles and for driving, but we also wanted to pay attention to that pedestrian experience, as it is very close to the old town, which is a very walkable part of our data. So we kind of turned to some of the elements that already existed in town, like the water tower, celery, historic hackberries, and we started to figure out ways to pull these elements into the design. Now, these start to become a little more of a focus point, and from what we understand with your project is we want to basically get the infrastructure and the layout to help build the community and create a destination that people want to come and visit and spend time. So some of these may or may not be as applicable, but I want you all to understand that, you know, we pay attention to some of the historic influences and what the town is and how it's been built, and bring that back to the community for them to see. This next is really just a graphic of Silverthorne up in a proposed roundabout. And so the purpose of putting this in here is really to let you know that, you know, you all are going to be interacting with the public quite a bit, and I'm sure you all do day in and day out. So it's our goal to really help you and provide you with some resources to do that. And so one of the components that we can help you do that with are some of these renderings and graphics. So as we evolve and move forward, you know, there'll be some reaching out to the public, which Anya will be a great resource for, as well as some of these graphic representations. And again, this is a project in off I-25 in Denver, and you know, we're just showing the proposed changes. This is really speaking to the graphic capabilities of what we can do and what we can show as far as selling this project. And then lastly, we just wanted to touch on a couple different items. This is an example up in Edwards on US 6 of really looking at schematic design. You know, we're starting to list out floodplains, raised medians, proposed bus stations. So this is sort of the graphic that you could expect to see with schematic design. And then as you start moving forward a little bit further, this is still a schematic design example, but what we would be doing is showing you essential layouts of how we could deal with some of these corner treatments in town. How can you deal with some of the signage? What does that look like? How does that impact the businesses? How does that impact people visiting, parking, all of that? We'll be considering all of that as we work through this. And last image coming through, same thing, really looking at different schematic designs, laying it out. So this is just trying to give you an overview of kind of what you could expect with what we'd be delivering.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of the things I also wanted to point out was having Annie on the team. Sometimes as designers and engineers, we get a little carried away with flow lines and volumes and terms, and Annie is a great translator, so she'll be key on the team to help kind of translate between the design team and the board and anybody in the town that's kind of consuming this stuff. And also looking at your comp plan, you know, a lot of these improvements are kind of geared towards the community character goal. You know, there's an interface with Parks and Rec and also transportation. But we see there that you got your eyes on NOLA, and Annie has experience writing and working a grant, so I'd like to ask her to speak a little bit about her role with this too.
Yeah, I've really really, I think, you guys have started a really thoughtful engagement process in trying to define and get ideas from your community about how they want the future to look. So I really just envision it building on that. I know you've expressed a desire to not necessarily go back and ask them again what they'd like, but rather just to keep this moving forward in a really positive way and to continue to build trust and support within your community. So I'll chime in when, as Brad and Daniel spoke about, when some of those deliverables start coming out, ensuring that the business owners understanding their role in helping to implement this and understanding and building support for that, potentially, for investing their own dollars, and how at the end you'll have this kind of amazing experience for your community and for people visiting your community, to, as I think Brad said, stop, explore, spend some money, and really get a feel for your history and your future. So with that, I think we open that up for questions.
Does the board have any questions so far?
Yep. Developmental plan changes due to the circumstances of our society now.
Okay. I'm gonna kind of repeat it. What was that question again?
Developmental plan changes there from what the citizens want to our circumstances that we stand now. I mean, our people aren't gonna wanna congregate together anymore. I mean, is that gonna be a big situational change there, I guess?
The question is, longer Main Streets, we try to focus over the years, even now, about places to congregate for people to be together outside of restaurants or open space. And with
restaurants.
And with the current climate, is that a long-term foreseeable issue to address, or is that something that may pass in time? What do you guys think?
Can I answer this all?
Yeah.
I kind of take this as a historical design question. Plagues and these sort of events have happened for millennia. And you still have historical towns in Italy, Spain, Middle East, all kinds of different forms of towns that have existed. I think you're asking kind of a broader design question that we could all sit here and debate for hours. I personally, I don't think there's significant design changes. I think there are certain rules and certain standards that people feel comfortable as humans in spaces. Visibility, freedom to walk around, move, to sit, to observe, to watch people. Those are intrinsically human behaviors that I don't think are going to go away. So at this point, I would say I don't think it'll play a huge role in our immediate design, how we're designing spaces. Now, in the near term, we are seeing small towns closing down their roads for events, opening up spaces for more pedestrian activities. And that's certainly something that we can look at in incorporating more pedestrian space. But I think at this point it'll be a balance of what serves the town of Platteville as far as traffic and pedestrian and congregation. But I would kind of turn that question around to you guys. Do you feel that you need more pedestrian space or congregation space for people to gather?
Well, I think right now we really don't have that. We just want something. That space to gather. I mean, other than walking up and down the sidewalk. But the way the downtown's designed, you really don't have the opportunity for a large gathering space anyway. So maybe improving some small, like, pocket areas, so to speak, on maybe some bulb outs, some curb cuts. I talked to two business owners today, and the focus was they have joint properties, the old Assembly of God Church, and there was an old gas station. And their names were Benny and Paul. We talked to them about, years ago, we drafted a potential parking improvement plan for downtown. And they were definitely for that, but they also wanted They wanted the landscaping component, they wanted the new lights, the new signage. So the businesses, we haven't had a formal meeting with the businesses yet. We finished as you well know, the economic development strategic plan last year with Cheryl Trent. I think our businesses are ready to meet. It's just bad timing with everything going on currently. But otherwise, we plan on meeting with them this month or next month. But I think there's enthusiasm there, at least from a couple that I spoke to. And, I don't know, I'll defer to the board on what they thought.
I got I like this is Troy here, the other Troy, and, I like the concept with these, markers that you have, these district markers. I don't wanna recreate or copy what another community has done, so I think that those are good little things, or some type of, maybe create a marker that's more fitting with our history of our community. The other thing I was thinking, I like the thought that, I don't think we really thought about much is we're focusing on our downtown area, not so much of like where the Dollar General is, and bringing in the traffic from 66. So I really like that idea of just bringing it in from that point all the way to the main street downtown to start that traffic flow that way. The thing that I ask is, CDOT hopefully is gonna work on that intersection there, and so do we wanna make sure that we know what their kind of design plan is, so we don't make something and then we have to tear it apart when CDOT comes in and widens that intersection out.
Yeah. Did you hear him all, Trustee Blum, all right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, and I just wanna, if I may, Alex, if you recall years ago, FHU designed a conceptual improvement for that intersection. And unfortunately, CDOT just didn't have the funding to do it. I don't think they care if we did it, if we paid for it, but obviously that's not gonna happen, but, we could probably use that conceptual design, don't you think, from what FHU did several years ago?
Yeah, absolutely, that's exactly what I was gonna say, we were plugged into that, at that point too, so, we have access to all to those designs, to the concepts behind that, as well, and that's something that, our relationship with CDOT is solid, and, getting feedback from them on just exactly that thing, that we don't want to preclude, or we don't want to, propose something that would be in direct conflict with those types of improvements, because we know how important that intersection is, to the town. It's vitally important, so that's something that, that we would absolutely keep in mind, because, the safety of the kids and everything is, that really truly is gonna be the most important thing. But again, how do we create that space of the entryway into there, like we talked about, so, yeah.
And one thing you mentioned, I like, I'm glad you brought it up. I think Brad may have brought it up, but not just focusing on the downtown, but bringing people in off the north side of 85, off 66, off Marion, to make sure those other businesses are recognized. But, at some point, the historic, you see towns like Erie, where they have the businesses, but then they have the, quote, historic downtown. I don't think that offends anybody. You have your newer businesses, you got your older businesses. As long as everybody's treated the same and they have the same opportunity for customers, I think they'll be fine. What do you think about that, Alex?
Oh yeah, I think that sounds like a great idea, and making that just kind of like that connection into that downtown, into the newer businesses, and providing that. That's something that we, as a team, the last time we met up in town in that same room, we left and we had a different feel for, what the public was saying. You guys shared with us the boards that you had with the public meeting, and even your own knowledge of the history of the town. It all of a sudden jumped out to us, and we could see it and start to kind of feel it and experience it. And so that's something that I think absolutely makes a ton of sense, especially as you go down south too, because it was like having that continuation down south. It was just a natural fit there, so.
Okay.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Well, that's kind of why I mentioned working with staff and the board and not having another big community engagement, because I think the board has been through enough of those, and I think they pretty well represent the various aspects of the community, where I'm comfortable that I don't know, I defer to the mayor, but I'm just speaking out of turn here, so.
No, I agree. Larry, you had a question?
I'm trying to formulate a question, yes, but, could you give me a better idea about the length of this? I take this to be a contract that the town would be signing with you. What I'm having a hard time determining is when all this would be delivered, or whether this is kind of a continuing consultation agreement with you folks, or is there a limit to that?
Third question?
Yeah, Joey, do you want me to jump in? Or I can give you my perspective, and if you wanna jump in, feel free.
Okay, go ahead, Alex.
The way we kind of set it up is, we had these multiple tasks kind of broken out into different chunks, and we're not seeing this necessarily as a long-term, consultation, with the town. We're really gonna be focused on delivering each one of these tasks, and getting those to you. So you have that plan, you've got the designs, you've got a funding kind of strategy and ways to kind of chip away at this. And, so that's really what we just provided in this scope of work, is something very distinct like that. Now, having said that, we are, like I said, I've been working with Troy in the town for, nearly a decade now. We are committed to the town of Platteville. We are, I was just thinking of a silly story, but, about the town, and how much we like it, but we're committed, we're gonna be around, we're not, we'll be here to assist in every step of the way, as it goes forward, in whatever way possible, but this is how we kind of suggested and identified this scope, is just to really accomplish these tasks that we described, so.
And Alex, I'm gonna jump in and kind of add to your comments. One thing that caused me to reach out to FHU and Alex is the relationship with CDOT is huge. And we have a big undertaking to get Main Street devolved, which right now is stalled. Been working with Tim Bellebrand up there at CDOT. And, it essentially comes down to funding. We negotiated, we started off at 4 million, ended up asking for 3 million, and CDOT offered half of that. So right there is just, Tim and I just tabled it because at that time, a new regional board director came in, a new state director came in. Not that it's completely fallen off the cliff, but right now it's tabled. And obviously current situations in the economy and a state budget of 4 billion that they gotta figure out, it's not gonna help. And then their history with Platteville and 85 corridor, they were part of the US 85 Pell study not too long ago. And Platteville was the focus of that corridor, so there's some historical knowledge that I like about this plan. And to go back to Larry, Mayor Pro Tem's question, there has to be, through this agreement, if the board agrees in the, not tonight, but in the future, there has to be set dates of deliverables. We have to know a timeline when phase 1 will be done, phase 2 and phase 3. Obviously, there's a little bit of leeway if things come up, but, yeah, it's not gonna last forever. It's not gonna be ongoing consultation, because we're gonna have to have end results where we can have something to produce and bid out and start getting some work done. And helping out with DOLA grants is gonna be huge. I mean, I love writing them, but if Ann wants to write it for me, I'm all for it. That's great. But, I've worked real well with Chris LeMay, our new regional DOLA director, so he's been awesome. He just got me another 200,000 for the sewer lagoon, so I'm happy with that. But, I don't know, that's kind of my perception, or my vision to the board. There's other firms out there, I get that. It's just, just historically, my knowledge, and with all the intangibles, with CDOT and DOLA and everything else, that's kind of why I asked FHU and Alex to kind of discuss this with the board and make a proposal.
So the plan would be to take our stuff that we've gone through for the last couple of years, the planning and what that group from CU did for us, and take that and actually put it into engineering draft to where we can say, okay, this is what the plan is, and then we can get a contractor to bid on it and say, okay, once we have the money, this is what we're gonna do, and get it started.
Exactly, and I'll let Alex speak here, but that's what I made very clear to Alex and his staff, is that we don't want another plan on the shelf. We have several plans, basically, tie them in together, work with the board, and move forward to actually having something physically done on Main Street. That was my goal. Alex, is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely, and, you know, and then one thing that we wanna, there might be some additional details that need to be worked out as we kind of, things start to take some shape and really get down into some of those engineering challenges, like, you know, Brad was talking about making sure that the underground and some of those utilities are in line, and there's certain things that we wanna make sure that we get additional detail, as we move forward. So that's something that we might have to kind of take a closer look at, to ensure that when you get out into, you know, the construction, that you are, doing everything. We have a set of plans that are buildable and, with appropriate detail that you would get good bids on.
Sure. Well, the joke in Platteville, Alex, is anything underground is a mystery. Because we've come across stuff you can't imagine.
Yeah. I have a question for you, Troy.
Okay.
This amount that we're looking at, 43,930, is any portion of that in the 2020 budget already?
This was not a per budget specific item.
Okay.
And I would more likely reach out to Chris LeMay from Dolan, ask him if administrative grant was possible to help offset these costs.
Okay. And that would likely to be what percentage of that total?
Administrative grant is 25,000 max.
Okay, thank you.
Did you hear that, Alex?
A bit of that, I couldn't quite hear all the question fully.
The question from Larry, from Mayor Pro Tem, was, the cost estimate around 43,000, how much of that had I budgeted? Of course, I had not thought of this going into 2020 budget. But also, there's a good possibility, at least there's a possibility we might get some DOLA assistance, at least with administrative grant of 25,000 to help offset those costs. But, I won't know until I talk to Mr. LeMay.
I thought we did budget for it.
Cause going into this year, the board put on the ballot, initiative for a 1% sales tax to develop an economic development fund, basically, and that failed by 5 votes, unfortunately. But over the years, the board has set aside basically $500,000 in reserve funds to do downtown improvements. So.
That question hasn't been on the ballot for the last time, I might point out.
They're gonna put that out to the vote of the people again, I'm sure. But, you know, I put some money aside for some street repairs downtown, and undergrounding's key. That was, you know, I've been working on that for 2 years with Excel. I'm working with Al Ermer, working down in the Denver office. I think he's in Greeley now, but in CenturyLink, looking at when they come in, putting in the sub-conduit for those future streetlights we talked about. So there's a bigger picture here, obviously. We have to pull all that together. And then, of course, CDOT. Okay, anybody else have any questions?
So we'd be looking at like, early fourth quarter on receiving some of this stuff, so we have 2021 project, you know. So can we get it in time to budget for 2021?
Okay.
Or do we have to wait a whole other year on top of that, you know what I mean?
Yep, exactly. Trustee Brandon basically asked the black and white nuts and bolts question. When, at what point, say we go into contract in July, hypothetically, you know, what is the timeline, cause we're going into budget in the fall, and it's a best laid guesstimate on funding for projects in the following year. What kind of timeline are we all looking at going from phase 1 to phase 3? Best case scenario.
Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking through that, and Brad, I'd like to get some of your input too. My knee-jerk reaction says that I think we could achieve that pretty well. You know, it'd take a lot of, we could push it and make sure that we get that into your budgeting cycle. Again, that's my knee-jerk reaction to that. Brad, is there any, like, details or anything like that might throw a bit of a wrinkle in that at all?
No, I think that would work. I mean, we might be able to identify some of the projects that are priorities and get those estimated earlier if we need to, in order to get to your budget planning cycle. But I saw this as like a 3-month or so project for the most part, without really, thinking too carefully. That's about what I had in mind originally.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
When will start your budget planning for the year?
Formally, I prepare the budget starting in late August, but the board doesn't meet until typically October.
Okay.
And then, we usually wrap up by the first week of November, then we adopt it in December, obviously.
Yeah, I think the key there would be to figure out where the CDOT piece comes in, and then we can kind of decide how to prioritize some of those improvements, and then get some consensus numbers in there for you.
Okay. Spencer, Dan, your question?
Perfect. We can even come up with a couple different scenarios with and without, CDOT, devolution and money coming from that too. So, we can kind of piece that together in a way that would create the actual reality of everything. So maybe we're not completely 100% dependent on, the devolution.
I think that's a wise idea, because the likelihood of the CDOT devolution being done by the end of this calendar year, I don't rate very highly.
No. You know, the first stop with the devolution is agreeing on a price, on a number, and then you have to go through the resolution process, the state
Given the
committee.
state's budget situation.
But that's a good point, Alex, as far as the devolution is, one part is having you and your team look at the town engineer's draft plan, or at least conceptual estimates of what the devolution involves. Because what we do downtown may reduce those costs through what we wanna pursue ourselves. I mean, because it's not just asphalt, it's curb and gutter, it's storm drainage. So, I mean, that's something else we need to look at as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good conversation consideration, yeah.
Yeah, this has been the spokes in the wheel kind of project for the last few years.
Let's see it through to the end.
Okay. Well, I don't have any more questions. I'm gonna defer to the board if you have any more questions for tonight. I know this was just a brief presentation initially. Obviously, I'm gonna talk to the board offline, and I'll be reaching out to you, Alex, and your team, and see what the next steps will be.
Alright, great. Well, again, thank you everybody for your time, we really do appreciate it, and, we look forward to, working with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you, Brad, Andy, Daniel, Alex. All right, talk to you soon.
Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Okay. Was that a little bit better than last time with the?
Yes.
Just having them up there and be able to hear them on the TV, and I worked that out with David, I'm not sure how, but, yeah, there's still some questions. I'm gonna talk to Chris LeMay, if Bill has any funding to help offset those costs. And they typically will give administrative grant up to $25,000, for planning, or design, architectural, and that's not a formal process. I mean, Chris, as regional director, can make that call. He has a pool of money for those kind of grants, and we've had a dozen of those over the years. So.
If we can get CDOT to do the devolution of Main Street, would they be willing to fork over some money and help do some of the work that's on Main Street that we wanna do, like do a shared responsibility of that?
Well, that's.
CDOT.
And when I spoke to Tim years ago, they used to do one of two options. Either they went and did all the work and signed off on it, and then they gave the project or the street to the town, or they would just give a check. what Tim has said over the years is CDOT doesn't really want to subcontract, and they don't have the manpower to do those anymore. So they typically would rather just give the money and let us deal with it. And prior to Tim, Gloria Heiseiler was the CDOT access control person. She told me the same thing. That's just what I believe from what I've heard. So they can't keep up with their other roads, with their crews, and they subcontract a ton. Every time you see a CDOT project, it's thank you so-and-so constructors, you know, because they can't do it themselves.
Right.
They do maintenance is all they do.
That works to the town's advantage too. If you have the money in your hand, CDOT is gone out of the picture, then you have control over how it's gonna be done.
But if we can't get them to come up with the 4 million or whatever we agree to, then are we just sitting on a plan and not being able to move forward?
No,
Well-
they'll work with us, right?
I think we wanna design this to where we can do, I'm gonna have to get permit through Tim, because if we go in the right of way, I have to get a permit. And the sidewalks technically in the right of way. Years ago, when from Goodrich to the schools, we redid those sidewalks. Basically halfway through the process, I got in trouble by Gloria, and she goes, "Where's your permit?" She just rubber stamped it, but it's their right of way. So with this project, I don't think we'll have a problem with it, because Tim knows eventually it'll come to us. The CDOT doesn't want it, it's just hardball, money game, is all it is. They don't want any of these frontage roads anymore, none, they can't maintain it. But they don't wanna just give away the farm's wealth. They don't have the money. So, just like Vasquez, they said, we can take Vasquez, they just won't give us a dime for it. But then later that year, CDOT, the maintenance crew who likes Platteville, they came in, they paid part of it, at least about 5 blocks of it. But to get to your point, I think we can design this and actually do our part without, and then if CDOT devolves, they'll give us the money to finish it up, but we don't have to rip anything out. That's the whole focus. We don't, if we bump the curbs out 2 foot to put in trees, or we do a bulb out or whatever, I think that's very realistic, and that could potentially lower the cost on this devolution to where, the last offer CDOT said was 1.5 million. I don't know if that still holds true today. But if we take a hard look at that, with Steve Bethers and FHU, it's like, you know what, we could probably do this with 200 or 2 million. Maybe be able to work that out. It's not gonna happen next year, like Larry says. It's just not gonna happen. There's no money at all going into 2021.
But they're all getting raises.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I just hate to see us go all this far, and, have everything ready to go, and they won't let us do what we want to do with our Main Street.
The main thing with CDOT, I think, as far as when they devolve it, is if I could talk them into paying for the asphalt. I mean, we do the curb and gutter, which really, there's not that much really when you think about it. From Goodrich down to 66, that curb and gutter sidewalk's in pretty good shape. We wouldn't rip that out. It would be from Goodrich probably to Town Hall. And this side, if you look over here, we need a sidewalk across the street, but the fire department just built. And then once you get past Reynolds, there's no sidewalk. Why would you need a sidewalk? So really, the way my mind works, if we focus on the asphalt cost,
Yeah.
then I think we can make a deal with CDOT to tie this in together.
Are we gonna put some storm drainage?
We
We
need
need that
some-
big,
The Norton ditch down to the cracked egg, that'll probably stay, but we'll see. We can
There's
maybe,
some storm drain through there underneath it, find that out there.
well, that's how it is right there from, on Marion, as you cross going for the Doubletree. Instead of a Norton ditch, that's just a paved over culvert where they put in years ago.
Yeah, put a spin culvert in there so the storm, the water flow through there, and, so we have up and down Main Street, because it's so, crowned, the road is, that we have storm drainage to level that out, so the storm drain would have.
A lot of it's surface flow on Main Street.
Would we change that to underground flow then, or would we still keep it at?
The only place I would probably put that in would be once you get this side of Goodrich, I think we're fine. And there's an inlet right here across the corner. But if you pick up that water at the Norton ditch, because then it flows to Division, that's where it floods. So if we extend outlets along Division instead of Main Street, just the way the water flows, I think that's more practical.
The engineer design is going to incorporate all these
had the storm drainage plan from 3 years ago, we
Yeah.
just had to pull that
I
off
just
the
hate to
shelf.
see us, if you can do curb and gutter, and then we, still have, when it rains, we have flooded sidewalks, and we planted these new flowers, and they're getting flooded out. But if we put the storm drainage underneath, the sidewalk and the curbing, then it's washing up and down where it needs to, and not washing away our main street.
Yeah, we're definitely have to pull that into it.
All
And,
things we can discuss
Yeah.
when we go to design work.
and they'll definitely look at all aspects, like you said, the sub-utilities, the storm drainage, and the neighborhoods around the project, how's it gonna impact all the residential areas,
Yeah.
you know?
Well,
So-
and that's, very important that we have a architectural design and where we're gonna need the electrical at, so that way when Excel, we finally get them to come and do that they are putting things where we want it, so we can tap into that right away.
There's a lot of spokes to this tire, or this wheel.
And we signed a contract with them, they'll be working with the board and you and, other staff to make sure all this is implemented.
What I told Alex is that, other than meeting with maybe the businesses downtown, and which we plan on doing at some point anyway, it would be the board, myself, David, and Steve Ferris, and maybe Melissa. But, I think we've had enough public meetings from like Shirley Davis said, try to hire a plan, just do something. I mean, she's blunt, she's telling me, I can't disagree with her.
Sure, not something we have to iron out tonight though, is what I.
No.
Okay.
But let me,
In the capital project here, there's, an 25,500 for economic development downtown. Is that Cheryl Trent?
yeah, and I over budgeted like normal.
Okay.
Didn't we pay her last year?
Yes,
did.
that's what I thought.
So that would be
So there's 25,000 there.
right there.
Spencer, I always over budget.
Hey, that's a good thing.
Anyhow.
It's not always good, but at least that's how I work, so,
Works for our advantage most of the time.
most of the time, that way we're not out of money, so.
Does everyone want to take 5 before we proceed with the meeting? Where do you go?
I want like 3 minutes, so maybe we could unapp my computer.
3-minute break?
3-minute break.
Take 5.
Or,
No, that's it.
Take 10.
I don't even know if I can.
it won't let me log in. This is the password, right?
Grab some more food too, so
No,
we don't have to eat it
That's
tomorrow.
your name.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
well, is it
password
trustee
is-
2020?
Yeah.
Try that
Capital T.
too.
Are you done
Yeah.
with this, Larry?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
What do you,
Here, you
what
ch-
does
you go
it
ahead.
do?
It says here, I'm not right. It says I'm not right for this thing. We're not meant to be.
You're not
We're
right?
not a match.
Okay. I know.
Well, maybe you do.
It would be the first thing that went right around here today, I tell you.
Yeah, hot munch. Protect the it'll be hot.
Oh, something
If you get a room temperature of 77.
Maybe not.
it's
Hey.
fantastic.
It's capital T?
Alright.
Maybe that's it.
That must be it.
The hottest place on the map, that was,
Really.
the whole front range. Usually bottom on Platteville, they're like 90 plus, everywhere else is like 90 plus. Jeez. I was coming in yesterday.
Do you guys want more to eat?
Not unless you guys have M&Ms.
No, I have probably 4. I didn't get to the store, yeah, there's
Very
a,
sharp knife to share.
okay, chop those up. Well, I'm gonna put stuff in the fridge then.
Thank you, man. It was delicious.
Oh, good. Thank the food bank. Because everything but the chicken came from the last food truck.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, these are like, that was tough bread.
I couldn't
That
go
was like when they make
This is
breadcrumbs.
chicken on steroids, isn't it? These are chicken breasts like.
Yeah, they are huge.
Yeah, I found it kinda comical coming in. Finally it got cloudy coming home last night and pull that crest of the hill there at the dairy on 66 and everything's shaking. And it was just like so nice to get reprieve. And I come over that hill and you look east and there's like this cloud cover that goes around Platteville and there's just like freaking spotlight, you know what I'm thinking?
Yeah.
Magnifying glass and those dry ants. I'm like, that's my town.
Yeah, it's like, it's
Everybody
supposed
just
to
getting
stay
fried
south
down
and
there.
north of us.
Oh, it's
and
like they
east.
split
Yeah,
around us.
it was like a perfect eye in the sky, just kinda like curved around, didn't quite touch unless it went on the other side of the hill,
Yeah.
of the horizon. But the clouds just went around like that, Platteville, I could see plain as day, the elevator over here, all the way from the dairy. And the whole town just lit up.
I was in Longmont today, I was riding my motorcycle back and there were some nice cool areas, and it's like, you know, up on 66 coming back, and like, oh, that feels good. And then I get out there in the sun and I'm like, whew, that's warm.
Yeah. Doing that, may I use your charger?
Please. Charges pretty quickly, apparently.
Sounds good.
How's your building management going, Troy? Going well?
Yeah, it's keeping me busy. I just, we have 18 HVAC units on the roof, and I just had a PM done on them, and then they went through each one to identify what needs to be fixed on it. $17,000 of fixes, new compressors, economizers and stuff on them, and so, yeah, it's, trying to get those all working and functional, so. But it's,
Yeah, they definitely need to be right now.
yeah, it's, the guy that did it before me, he didn't do any PMs on them, he just like, oh, if it wasn't working, he'd call a company and come in and fix it. And he'd replace filters and do any of that kind of stuff, so, you know, I told the company that I use, I'm like, you know, all I can do is take care of it from this point forward, you know, and I just wanna get a long lasting, maximize lifetime of them that I can. I know, you know, each one's gonna cost like 30,000-40,000 to replace, but I gotta get, you know, I need to get these functional, and so that way people come in the office, they got a nice cool office that they're comfortable with, you know, so. Yeah.
You like your new neighbors, Nick?
I haven't met him, I haven't moved in yet.
Oh.
Yeah, nobody's done anything except for, also I need to ask Troy, when they're gonna fill those holes in.
Oh, and the
They
street?
tried to, yeah,
The
for
plumbing,
the power and the
yeah.
water, yeah. Like, we spent good money fixing
Yeah.
that road.
Yeah.
Now I got these potholes, and people drive by and hit that metal plate, and it's just like, bang, bang, like, which one of my kids got run over?
Yeah.
I'm freaking out every time.
You gotta get rid of this.
Get damn plate, get something out of there.
Is the town gonna have to, do they?
It shouldn't, they're the ones that
Or-
destroyed it, they should be paying for it, in my
Yeah, I think
opinion, or
they would have to.
the construction company.
Get somebody out there to.
Like, dig that dirt back out, cause they just filled in with dirt, one of them, the other one still got a
Yeah, we
metal
space.
plate over it,
Yeah.
so.
It's been there for a little while now.
Yeah, I don't know who the people are.
Probably somebody who Clayton Homes contracts.
Yeah, he's probably cheapest bidder.
Yeah.
We,
Well, Troy had said it was a young Hispanic couple,
yeah.
but,
Well, Clayton Homes, I think that's a mobile home from Clayton Homes, I
Yeah,
believe,
yeah.
right? So they won't let you like get an installer and you have to go through them.
right,
For everything, you know, part of their,
Okay,
their
good
scheme,
deal.
so it was whoever they hired to install that home in there that is effing up right now.
oh, okay,
Dragging their feet.
yeah. Well, it was kind of a shady whole project, because all their work that they did was like after hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was calling Troy often after, I'm like, they got permits on this yet? I mean, cause there's nothing posted, they didn't have permits at first, Troy shut them down, They didn't get property lines offset, Troy shut it down, I'm like, cause it looked like they're getting pretty close, I didn't really know, I couldn't find a property line on that east side.
Yeah.
Just kinda going by what you find on like, Weld County property lines, but it was skewed, it was shifted to the east, the whole property, so it looked like it had about another 5 or 8 feet to the east. But it showed that the front of my property was on this side of the ditch, which I think goes, like my property, it's like the whole moat. I mean, I own the moat on the east side, north side, west side also, and that's where, but everything in the property lines, the county map showed that it was skewed to the east. So I had to get property lines, the offsets corrected, cause they signed off on some offsets that were 8-foot offsets, and shows that like only maybe 10 or 15 or something like that. But then they poured the cast on it, they cast it, the case on it.
There's a layer on the inside too.
Oh, yeah.
It was like,
Did you get one
in the middle of the winter.
23?
Like, I'm not an engineer, but I thought, you know, when you're pouring concrete without moisture, you get hard to freeze, that would,
Yeah.
think structure
Sorry.
on the side.
Oh, you're good.
Kinda how deep they go, like on top of it, it's sort of.
Yeah, I think.
Well, they
it
put
was
that
6 feet.
stuff in the cement too, that.
Rub it up, Doug, thanks for the grub, yay, God.
Cold weather
Yeah.
pouring.
That's my blessing
Yeah.
before the meal.
Yeah, I didn't know, but everything was done, like when they put the
It's-
house on the foundation, it was
It's
done
always
at
requested,
7 o'clock.
my house at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Pull your microphone closer.
Yes.
Would you?
Yes.
Alright. I call the order of the meeting of June 2nd, 2020. Can I have a moment of silence for all those serving inside our borders, outside, and on the front lines, please? Alright, will you join me and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alright, can I have roll call, please, Mary?
Mayor Adrian Sandoval,
Here?
Mayor Pro Tem Larry Clark,
Here.
Harold Leggett, Nick Ralston,
Here.
Spencer Bradman,
Here.
Troy Blum,
Here.
Jeremiah Overman.
Here.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
I make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Alright. Audience participation, I'm going to assume there is none, because we have no audience tonight. So moving on to approval of the consent agenda, which includes minutes of the May 19th, 2020 regular meeting of the Board of Trustees.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I second that.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, carried. Action items, agreement for services, Harvest Daze fireworks, Tri-State fireworks, Mr. Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. After our last Harvest Daze committee meeting, I reached out to Joe Diaz, the owner of Tri-State Fireworks out of Bright. And they, surprisingly, they still have quite a few displays going this year. People are kinda like us, they're not doing their full event or they're canceling, but they're still doing fireworks. You know, it's just kind of a, like you said, it's kind of a mental thing a lot of communities like to see in the summertime, kind of some normalcy. This year, Saturday, August 15th, is the third weekend of August. It's 7 p.m. on that evening. It's the same template agreement we've done the last 4 or 5 years with the Tri-State Fireworks. The cost is $6,000. Joe did indicate that he would honor that cost for this year, but next year it would probably go up because of the tariffs. When I talked to him, he had a full, basically canister down on San Diego Pier, I believe, and he's waiting on, he couldn't afford to pay for it. He's waiting on some revenue to come in to get those fireworks off the pier. So, don't think they'll improve the next few years, but we'll see. Otherwise, I don't have anything different. Right now, they're still scheduled to be shot over by the sewer lagoon. He loves using that empty cell when he shoots up on the berm. He'll do less of the ground cover like he did in years past because he knows that doesn't get real high. So we'll probably do some more of the 2-3 inch shells instead. So again, it's a 7 to 9 minute display overall. I think they do a pretty good job. So, but that's all I have for, Tri-State Fireworks.
Any questions, comments, or concerns? I'd entertain a motion, please.
I move to approve the agreement for services with Tri-State Fireworks for the Harvest Daze event in the amount of $6,000 and authorize the mayor to execute the same.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Can we get roll call, please, Mary?
Harold Leggett, Nick Ralston,
Aye.
Spencer Bradnan,
Aye.
Fred Blum,
Aye.
Larry Clark,
Aye.
Jeremiah Overman.
All right, moving on to reports. Mr. Rankin.
Thank you. In my written report, I summarized a number of different projects, the World Food Bank, those 2 projects with the summer feeding program, which is again tomorrow. Janet will receive that. The, first food pantry went well. Earlier this week, we were granted the amendment for a contract from DOLA on the wastewater, moving from the pilot study to the design of the SBR. So the mayor signed that, get the full $200,000, which is good news. I've assigned David to monitor our underground projects, because we have the 2-year plus project we've been working on Main Street. Plus we're doing a new one on Reynolds before we pave Reynolds. Then there's a small one at the corner there, 25 and 32 and a half, to move that. Not only undergrounding, we're just moving that pole back so we can widen that turning radius for the trucks. Melissa was in today. She did a couple site plan orders. Paul Eisenoff is building the old gas station. This is wrapping up as far as his site plan. I think he'll start working on some improvements later this year. He just put it on hold for a while. Benny Rio still in the Silver Spur barn. He bought the Assembly of God Church. He said tomorrow or Thursday or Friday, he'd submit his plans to add a outdoor patio on the north side of his barn along the sidewalk, which is part of the conceptual plan we wanted on our Main Street, more outdoor sitting and between the other building and his bar where people park.
North side of the church.
North side of his bar.
No, where they drive through.
Where they drive through for the pickup. Okay.
Yeah, and
It's really not a.
he brought that up today. He said, I left my drive-thru, and I said, it's not a drive-thru. I'm not gonna allow you a curb cut. So it's not a drive-thru.
Cool. So we would just cut that. That would be even better. I was like, how are you gonna do both?
No, I said, you don't have an official drive-thru, so it can be your patio, but no drive-thru.
I realized that the first time I drove down the curb. I was like, wait, this is not supposed to be.
No, I said, the cars are jumping the curb. I said,
Yes.
that should give you the first sign, it's not a drive-thru.
Right. Yep.
But, yeah, we talked about that today as well.
So he's gonna go east from the sidewalk?
Yes.
And really what that alleyway is?
Yeah, it's not, I mean,
Not
the
an
alley's on the
alleyway.
south side of the building between the church.
Right.
On the north side, they've used it, but
It's a space between his building and the other one. to the-
Exactly.
to the north of it.
And he owns that up to the next building then, or what?
just, I think 4 foot from the building,
Okay.
from the next building.
If the neighbor doesn't have an issue with it.
Now, Linda Decker owns that now because her dad owned that gallery, used to call it gallery, and then Kano Realty, and then Mr. Green's chiropractor. But I think Linda has some plans with that small section of the building, but I'm not sure what yet.
So, can I back you up here a little bit, right, Troy, about this gas station building?
7-Eleven?
No, the one on Main Street.
Oh, Paul's?
Yeah.
What he has on the site plan is a small business front, it's about 500 square foot. And then he had, in the back side of the building, on the east side, he has an apartment with a loft. And then on the north side to the back, he's gonna fence it in for a yard for his renters. And then the next year, he'd probably build a small 24-foot wide garage off the back that meets setbacks. So it's gonna be a residential rental in the back.
Was it ever determined whether or not the gas tank is still there or
It was
not?
removed.
It was removed.
We have documents that it was removed.
Okay.
Yep. Yep, it was abandoned, so. Was that gas-
Abandoned or removed?
What's that?
Abandoned or removed?
It was removed according to the state. So
Okay.
whatever that means according to the state.
Very good.
More than likely, it was probably filled in. But I don't know. I mean, that's what they do at July run, they just fill it in with sand or rock or whatever, so.
Okay.
But he had the letter in hand when he bought it, so he showed that to us, so.
So it's not gonna have a negative impact on the Main Street redevelopment or the undergrounding or anything else?
No, that's what, one thing I talked to Paul specifically about, cause he has that corner, and he's all for that, discussion for new lighting and, cause his property line is actually set far enough back of Main Street and from Goodrich, so he's kinda limited there. So, from the curb up to the front of the building is probably 12 foot before his property line starts.
Do we know where the gas tank actually used to be, supposedly, if it's gone?
In front and underneath Main Street.
Under the street? Okay. So, I mean, really what the focus of my question is if it hasn't been removed, is it going to impact any undergrounding and or development on the street itself?
Just like boring,
Not unless we
bore through it or?
bore across that section of Main Street. Most of the light poles are on the west side of Main Street. They will, and the boring will, the boring for the underground will occur in the alleys, not the street intersections. But I don't know that specific detail.
Okay. You understand my concern?
Absolutely.
Because if it was just filled in and not physically removed, it has a potential to be a hazard or an impediment to the development of what we're talking about doing on Main Street.
So as long as everybody
And
knows
if that's the case, then where does the cost lie to, if we have to, get it removed?
We'll probably pothole that to make sure. Once we get, I mean, the letter, I saw the letter and I read it, I mean, the state said it removed the gas tank, so. I don't know.
But if we talk to them, Linda Decker, she knows.
No, probably.
I think there's enough seniors in this town that probably know. I mean, removing, if they actually removed it, seems like that would be a big project certain people would remember.
Well,
Just out of curiosity.
that'd be
anyways.
nice to know, to have that asset, but I'd like some kind of assurance that it really was returned, not just some bureaucrat in the state government that says, oh, well, yeah, we removed it, but really what we did was just fill it, fill the hole full of sand. Cause it's still a potential hazard if it wasn't physically removed in its entirety.
Potentially. Usually when the state gets rid of those underground tanks, they leave it in such a manner where it's completely removed or it's filled in with no contaminants, so, I don't know.
Okay, well, I don't know if there's any way to research perhaps through the state records or it has to be done.
I have a copy of the letter, I just need to find it,
Okay,
do some more research on that.
alright, so,
The 7-Eleven is all but done, we're just waiting on them. Mary's having a heck of a time recording the revised plat because the office isn't open. And we don't wanna mail a Mylar, so we're just kind of, it's a waiting game, right, Mary? It's just,
Well,
so,
they'll have to open someday.
The 7-Eleven office is
no,
closed?
the
No,
county
the
office,
county clerk and
Oh.
recorder.
clerk and recorder.
Some of the offices are open, but recording is not. According to their website, and I've been calling them. I haven't called them this week, but I've been calling them every week to see when we can get that in there.
That's really interesting, because on all our calls, they're always
I know.
100% open.
I know,
Yeah.
I don't get that either, but
Okay.
that's not my fault.
Yeah.
But I don't wanna lose our only original Mylars in the mail.
No.
Not that I don't trust the mail.
No.
They're a wonderful federal agency.
a little bit more sincerity next time, Mary.
No, it's
Continue on,
true.
Mr. Rankin?
Oh, okay. So next Tuesday, the 9th at 6 p.m., we'll have our biennial elected official training.
6 p.m.
6 p.m. Sam Light, cause that's the time Sam Light told, and we still need to confirm if he'll be here in person.
No,
or if
he
he'll
will.
He will be here in person, so you have a live person, so.
Except for that, and that's supposed to, the other type of person.
Yeah, remotely on the TV. Physically present, okay?
Wow.
And,
With mask and all.
Sam Light took over as general counsel when Tammy Sonoy, a longtime general counsel for Search, got promoted to the director. So I worked with Sam off and on, he's pretty good. So, that'll be for about an hour, typically is what it is. There's handbooks, but I like to have someone here live, so to speak, that way you can answer questions. Cause typically there's each time we do this, there's a scenario. You know, what if this, what if that? And as elected officials, that's good to know, so.
What day did you say that was?
Next Tuesday, June 9th.
We're meeting 3 Tuesdays in a row.
Yep.
This is number 1.
We're kind of kiboshing the PTT.
Are you?
Well, next Tuesday.
Well, next Tuesday, yeah. That's only because that's all he had. He told us when he would be here, so what time.
If you can push it back to like 7 PM, we'd probably be done by then.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And then, the following meeting, we'll have Clifton, Larson, Allen here, it'll be remote. His name's Eric, he'll do the presentation, the audit was wrapped up today. And, actually the mayor signed that final letter and I received those documents. And, I just haven't seen the final financial statements yet. David Green's gonna be here tomorrow to close out last month's books and he'll give those to me. So that'll all go to your packet for the next meeting. And then in July, the second meeting in July, I've received at least 2 more months of financials, I wanna talk to the board as indicated in my report. Some capital projects that I'd still like to pursue. Some of the sidewalks that I was talking to David, for example, there's sidewalk repairs downtown. Some I don't wanna pursue too soon, because we're not sure what we're gonna do. But if you're looking from the chiropractor's office and over by Shirley Davis's and over by the Elvergale, we don't see adjusting those curb cuts at all. If we did, it'd mostly be on the west side of the street, because they're raised on the east side. That's pretty much impossible to adjust those. But if you walk that area, it's terrible, absolutely terrible. And even if we patch those, we extend them out, it's not gonna go to waste. But I've had some complaints from K&O and from Benny, and it's pretty cracked up in there. And then if you walk in front of the Elvergale, eastbound, once you get past Shirley, I mean, it's pretty bad in there too. So, that's one project I wanna talk about. David wants me to bring up the bigger detention pond digging up here on Lot B for Reynolds Avenue. And that money is in 3 different pots. It's in the transportation fund, it's in the capital improvement fund, it's in the general fund. So, the transportation fund is what it is, it's from development, it's not from sales tax, but capital improvement fund obviously is. But as of last month, we're sitting pretty good. But, I don't know how big a lag oil and gas revenues will be. And now that things are opening back up, normal sales tax should start improving again. Like Benny today at the bar, he said he's happy with what he's done so far in the last week, since the governor lifted some of the restrictions. Tijuana's has some seating going on, so, but like I said, oil and gas is the biggest impact in Platteville when it comes to sales tax. And that hasn't changed, so.
As far as purchasing things at our businesses, is that what you're getting at? What is their sales tax contribution, is their employees, spending money at our retail businesses? Is that what?
You mean oil and gas?
Oil and gas revenues that are not just restaurants and fuel pumps, I mean, they bring in a lot of revenue to the town from their lease agreements and their subcontractors.
Okay.
Yep.
Usually the roustabout, the Patch Grill is at this insane build breakfast lunch, and it's not.
I've heard they've been doing pretty well. I know the manager over there, she said they're not that slow, so.
There's a lot
But
of
I'm
people.
wondering what the impact of oil and gas, other than sales tax, you would take, what is the lease agreements, and when they're doing work in town, we're getting a cut of that, basically?
In the area, yeah.
Well, and all the equipment
Yeah, there's a lot of
and
equipment.
materials that they buy.
Mm.
Deliver it through the sales tax.
So I'll see probably by Friday how April's sales tax is a 2-month lag. And then, in July I'll get, May's, and by then I'll have a pretty good idea. I know the state's cutting $4 billion, I've read about all these other towns making cuts. We don't have, this is my perspective, we don't have that kind of volatile budget. We don't budget that way. You know, I cut capital projects, I suspend them, but as far as the revenues coming in for operations, I'm pretty comfortable with that. So I'm not too overly concerned with that. But, and right now we have about a $3 million reserve fund overall. It's in Colo Trust, getting interest. They only keep just around $500,000 in the checking account. And then every month if there's 100,000 more or more, then we move it to Colo Trust so we can gain interest. So, and I'm glad we have that long term, worst case scenario. Otherwise, that's pretty much all I have for the board tonight. I mean, it's been fairly slow overall. Typically this time of year, we're doing contracts for projects, but just not this year. At least not yet.
We have enough on our plate.
But,
I saw that they moved the tanks out of that property up in, the business park. They got those, behind, just north of my house there, where we're gonna put the tank pond.
yeah, they did the P&A, the plug and abandonment
Yeah.
of those wells, and Steve Bethers and Dave and I are waiting to meet with them because the way Steve designed off basically Reynolds and Main, where the water basically just dead ends there. There's a design where it'll go back along Reynolds and right where John Ruppel's barn is, it's not his, and I met with him the other night and I told him to start preparing to get rid of all his stuff in there, and he wasn't real happy with me, but, he asked me if I could just keep it until he's gone. I said, that's not realistic, so, but it'll go basically right through the west side of where that barn is, to keep that lot available for development.
Right.
And then we have to work with them because they still have some flow lines, Anadarko does, Occidental.
Okay.
And, it's still their lease area, so they can re-drill if they want to, but we're gonna work with them on that.
Okay.
But more than likely, they're not gonna re-drill right there,
Yeah.
so.
I don't think it's big enough pad to worry about.
Pretty small pad, and I remember it was back in 2009 when those wells went in, so.
Did you meet with that realtor that has that property north of the sewer lagoons?
I haven't met with him, I've talked to him,
Okay.
and right now it's just being advertised, and I said if it comes to fruition, the town would definitely wanna annex that property in, but it's being advertised mostly as residential, large lots, so I'm not too concerned with that.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's not really a business property. And we control the only viable road, paved road that connects to it, so.
Speaking of that road, there's the big holes out there. Are you gonna patch those in?
No, I don't wanna patch them in because LG Everest and Martin Marietta is supposed to,
I mean, the new part between 25 and Division, where they put that house. They got
yeah.
the taps, I don't know how long they're gonna leave those holes out there, but every time I hit that metal plate, I was telling Spencer, I think one of my kids got run off.
Yeah,
They got boom, boom, every time.
Yeah, I asked David when they're supposed to go back in and, cause they cut those out for utilities, for that new
Yeah.
house.
Yeah,
Well, it's been there for a while.
2-3 months already.
It's been there for a while. I'll have to ask David tomorrow when that'll get done.
Okay,
Cause that's part of their permit, they have to patch it off and we inspect it.
okay.
I know there's 2 of them there that they have to do.
I don't want you to think I'm not watching my kids, I do that. There's some other neighbor kids that come over and I don't think they're gonna watch them too.
Fair enough, fair enough. I thought you'd been over by the sewer lagoon.
Yeah, no, that's actually not too bad, it's just rough, just cause I did a subgrade deteriorated so much.
Yeah, that's part of the business. That section will probably have to dig it up and replace 12 inches of subgrade and then,
Yeah.
and put 6 inches over.
Is there any way, cause it's mainly that eastbound lane, because there's no way for that water to go in that ditch, just sits there and saturates the subgrade, is there any way you can drain that east or west?
Probably, I don't know how we go west. Maybe east if we added the culvert down at the intersection and get it underneath the road. So,
Well, you have that detention pond right there at the corner of 25.
That's Central Wells detention pond for the master meter,
Okay.
so we can't touch that one.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that detention pond, that backyard, that's for the master meter overflow, if it over, which has never had, that's the overflow for the master meter. So I'm waiting on Martin, or, LG Everest and Martin Marietta to come back with a revised proposal, since they haven't met with them. And they're still hoping to have that done by in summer, early fall.
Okay.
And then today Melissa sent Lynn Kramer their contact on the development agreement. We're working on that, should hopefully be ready by next month, cause we're in the final stages of review. So that'll come to the board for review and approval. So working out the kinks there. But right now development's not really being down their door, any other means at this point, so. Any other questions for me?
Any more questions? Alright, thank
Okay.
you very much. I wanted to ask Mary, what's the deadline for adding a ballot question for the November ballot?
Oh, I don't know, off the top of my head. Early, I would guess, probably late September, early October.
Okay.
I can look that up and let you know.
Okay, maybe we will just add it to the agenda for the second meeting in June. The question to bring back the economic development tax question.
Maybe reword it, cause it appeared at first glance that there was just one that raised the taxes. Was it the one that had the 400,000 or something on there?
This was sales tax
Associated with it.
700,000.
700,000?
Do we have to put a
I
dollar
don't know,
figure here?
I think that might have scared
You
people
have
on
to
that.
word it that way.
Oh, you do have to put it that way?
That was the wording from the attorney.
Yes, yeah.
Well, it's always worded by attorneys, and it's just,
Per Tabor.
difficult for people to understand sometimes, I think.
Per Tabor.
And then when they say raise
that way.
taxes to $700,000, no way, you know, I think.
Do we wanna bring it back this soon?
Absolutely.
I think so. I mean, we can discuss it on the second meeting of June, but if we put it on the agenda, we can discuss it then and decide what we want to do. But at least then, if you have probably the cost and the deadline, that'd be super helpful.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
The cost is
The employment
much more reasonable when you're in employment with the county.
We're not gonna discuss it tonight, we're gonna discuss it the second meeting of June. Thank you. Okay, and then, that's all I have. I did wanna say thank you, Park Trails and Trees, cause flowers on Main Street are awesome. Guys did great. Anything from the community?
I just wanted to ask, what do you guys, Troy, what do you think about a farmer's market?
I was asked
Is that done?
I was asked that today by Benny, cause he had heard about it, and, as far as whether we should have it or not,
Yeah, right, but the gathering restrictions that were potentially going to be under, that's the concern, right?
how soon were you looking at having it?
I think it's like July, August, August timeframe, probably. Talked about.
Depends on how it's set up, I don't know why you couldn't plan for something like that. And if you spread things out, I mean, I can talk to Tim at CDOT, we can close Main Street, and if they're spread out far enough, and do a 2-block radius. I mean, it's hard to forecast what the governor's gonna do. I mean, he's supposed to announce sport, lifting bans on sports in the next week or two. I'll talk to the churches about their congregations, the Methodist Church wants to meet in Lincoln Park, and I said, I'm not gonna bother you. I'm just not. You have a wide open space, congregation's about 35. Restaurant's gonna have 50% capacity, and most of them have a occupancy of 100 people. I gotta be fair. So, farmer's market, if they have 10 or 12 people at a booth or whatever at one time, I have no problem with that.
Cool.
So,
So we'll probably try to drive forward with that, I think.
Okay.
I will say that attendance or participation has dwindled, so we're only sitting on like 4 members.
Is it just because of the current climate, you think?
I don't know, well, it's, it all seem to coincide around the same time, so.
Well, to go along with that, when I was talking to Paul Eisenach, he brought the business luncheon. And I said, well, we were gonna have it this month, obviously we're not going to, but probably maybe a fall, maybe a September, October,
Yeah.
depending on how things go.
And so barbecue, do chili?
Do something, hopefully it's not that cold that soon.
I like cold,
I know.
sorry.
But, I think it's worthwhile planning tentatively some of these events in the next 6 months. But, Colorado's not spiking, I watched every day, some other states are, but we're not. And, every governor, as you well know, is different as far as their regulations, so if we get by the current climate with what's dealing with the rioting, then we'll get back on track hopefully. So.
Anything else before the meeting or before the board? All right, adjourned.
Thank you, advice.
You want a baseball lined up?